Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect on Playback. We are going to have Josh Bett, broadcaster of FIBA, joining us. If you have listened to my podcast on YouTube or Spotify, or even here in Playback before the FIBA OQT, well, you're probably quite familiar with Josh at this point. Josh, are you there?
How are you doing?
I'm good, Josh. I'm good. Just ending what has been a busy day so far, but I'm happy that we get to discuss this because we had an episode before the OQT talking about the national team. And am I right in assuming that they blew away your expectations, that they performed better than even you might have imagined?
Yeah, I mean, the win against Latvia was phenomenal. I actually didn't get to see that game because it conflicted with the time. I was in Valencia. I was at the other OQT. And it was between my co-commentator, Shona Thurborn, who's a professional coach for basketball in France. She kept showing me the score during the game. And at first glimpse, I was like, wow, like they have a lead, first quarter. Then Gerard Soleil, who's like one of the greatest commentators in Spanish basketball, he kept showing me the score. And I was like, well, they might actually do this. So when they won the game, I actually couldn't believe it because I felt like, number one, Latvia's a very good team. But when I started to think about it, I felt, you know what? They didn't do a proper scouting report on Justin Brownlee. And that was what I was saying to everybody, is that Justin Brownlee is a myth. You know, you have a 6'5", 6'6" power forward who plays a variety of positions. And I don't quite think Latvia were prepared for him. And when Brownlee gets his 20 to 30 points, everybody else just clicks into gear. Plus, you got to give credit to Kai Sotto, relatively good performance from him, Juma Fajardo. So I don't want to say it was a surprise, but at the same time, I'd rather just say congratulations. It was a very good victory.
Absolutely. Hello, Basketball PH. Thanks for joining us tonight. Justin Brownlee, I thought, was sensational. He was the fulcrum of what Gilas was doing, particularly on the offensive side of the basketball. And, when you've got your head coach telling everybody after a game it was a mistake that this guy never made, especially a head coach who has seen a lot of basketball over his career, then you probably done something great. What did you take away from Coach Tim saying that? And when you look back at Justin's career, because we know making the NBA sometimes isn't as simple as being really good at putting a basketball inside a ring. Sometimes you need to know the right people. You need to be in the right setup. You need to be introduced to the right contacts. Do you think in another world, maybe Justin Brownlee is an NBA standout?
Listen, I'm just glad that Tim Cohn is basically now saying what I said a year ago. And I remember because I went to Japan in February 2023 to do the EASL, and I'd covered Philippines versus Lebanon, and Brownlee played. And I knew a little bit about Brownlee, but not too much. And I felt, you know what, he is a missing piece to his team. He's a power forward that can really help the bigs, can give this team a lot of depth, and can most important, not from his scoring, but switch up, play a really 1 through 5 switching defense. So you could have Brownlee defend any position. And Nav, I'll never forget it. I said Brownlee should go to the World Cup as a naturalized player. And you had these journalists, you had these individuals on X that were very, very opinionated about my opinion, called me out. I mean, I think I'd received one DM from somebody who was a journalist saying, "You're British, stick to soccer. You don't know what you're talking about."
Was it a journalist from the Philippines?
Yes, I won't name and shame because I don't believe in that. I'll leave it at that. But the fact is, whenever, because everyone was drinking the Kool-Aid of Jordan Clarkson, rightfully so. Jordan Clarkson's a very good NBA player, and even Gerard Soleil, who's a top commentator in Spain, who I was just with this week, he even said on my Twitter post, "No, you go with Jordan Clarkson." But I was thinking in the sense that you needed a power forward who could play a variety of roles, who could defend a variety of roles, and could score. And that's what Justin Brownlee did. Look, could Justin Brownlee have been an NBA player? I mean, who knows? We all know how players get selected in and out of the NBA and who makes it in the international world. I can just say one thing is that Justin Brownlee, I feel, loves where he is right now. He's played in the Philippines, he's played in the PBA, plays for the national team, and he's loving life in Indonesia. And I think he's a very unique human being. So it's kind of irrelevant. Would he have been an NBA player in any other life? I think we can all agree he's a very good basketball player, and may he still continue to play for Gilas.
Yes, even if he's 36 years old, one of the things that I think we can confidently take away is Justin Brownlee is probably as good as he has ever been. I feel that the mental IQ and the way he is thinking the game more and more as each season passes by, and he's always been a smart player already. It makes up for maybe what he lost physically over the last near decade. And the shooting is great. The ball handling is great for his size. The defense is superb. Now, let's go to the performance of the team as a unit. Obviously, we can't discount the fact that Kai Sotto's injury really might have messed things up a little bit for the national team. And Coach Tim Cohn isn't the type of guy to use injuries as an excuse for performance or lack of. But at the end, after the loss to Brazil, he did point out how Kai's injury was significant. And I believe it's because that height and skill combination of Kai in Coach Tim's triangle, which relies on production both sides of the floor, the triangle and the offense leading to them being able to set up on defense, it just took away so many of the avenues that made them strong. Like I said, the skill set of Kai, his ability to be there for putback dunks, for lobs, protecting the rim, and just being, a presence when you're seven. Kai's, I think, about 7'1", 7'2", or maybe even 7'3", somewhere there. But that presence, being above 7 feet and being nimble and being agile like Kyle is, even if he's not always laterally the quickest guy, it's just something that the national team really missed, right? So, do you think Kai's absence was the biggest factor that led to the drop off in Gilas's performance? That's the first question. The second question is, what was Gilas doing right at the start of the tournament that they no longer were doing properly towards the end when Brazil eliminated them?
Well, first off, you got to credit down to Gilas' defense. I think they were very wary of those, as you mentioned, the size mismatches. The player Newsom, I want to give this guy a lot of credit because I think Newsom, for me, is just such an intelligent defender. What Gilas were able to do very well was anytime Brazil wanted to go inside the paint, they quickly double teamed. And then, when you double team, that leaves 3 players against 4, which means your other 3 players, they have to pick up very quickly depending where the ball is kicked out. Then they go through, as we mentioned, the 1 through 5 switching. I thought they were phenomenal at this. Brownlee had his 12 points offensively. Look, where Gilas try to hurt you, if you can try to get something quick with Dyke Ramos in the backcourt, or you can try to get Justin Brownlee with an ISO inside the paint or from the perimeter, that worked out. Second half, at some point, Brazil's going to make a run. And I can't remember if it was Kimbao or if it was Japeth Aguilar. But whoever they were defending, it was up against Rafa Mendel, I believe. This level of basketball, you cannot not chase your man if they're a three-point shooter. You cannot just give 1 or 2 feet to a perimeter shooter and say, listen, I'll try to contest. This is top-level international basketball. You're competing to get to Olympics. So you have to, at all times, be up in the face of your man, whether they have the ball in their hands or not. You have to chase them. And I just felt in the first few minutes of the second quarter, there was a lackluster effort in which I think Gilas, midway through the third quarter, hadn't scored any points. In the total third quarter, they scored 6. And at that point, you could see fatigue. Also, defensively, Brazil, they figured out, listen, if we can frustrate Justin Brownlee, the offense is gone. And they did that. It goes back to what I said. Teams didn't do their scouting report on Gilas. I think maybe it was a case of, it's another naturalized player. It's not Jordan Clarkson. We'll handle this. But I think they underestimated at first how great Clarkson was. And in the second part, then they've realized, okay, he is the go-to player for this team. If we shut him down, then it becomes a gamble for the rest of the players. And I think that's what Brazil did very well.
For sure. And a lot of the organization in both sides of the floor that the Philippines had in the first 2 games just felt a little bit more rushed. I felt that Japeth Aguilar got some unfair criticism for the way he performed against Brazil. And if there's anyone who's really coming to Japeth's defense, it's Coach Tim Cohn. If you guys want to know what I'm talking about, check Coach Tim Cohn's Twitter. I'll try to get that up on the screen shortly. I want to say hello to all the viewers right now, all the spectators. By the way, Josh, in our group chat and Messenger, I had to share about what you said on a Filipino journalist telling you stick to soccer. And let's say quite a few of our friends are not happy with whoever that journalist is. I'm not going to announce you to.
Yeah,
I'm not going to ask you to reveal who that is.
Let's
Yeah,
let's keep that anonymity. I believe.
yeah,
I listen. As much as I don't have any personal relationship with that person. We did actually meet in the summer. I'm not the kind of person to how do you say name and shame on social media, whether it's direct or whatever you want to crypto.
right, right.
We had a coffee in the summer. We talked it out. I gave my opinion to it, and let's just say we left it at that.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear at least that you guys did have a coffee about it and talked it out. But again, in behalf of the Filipino journalist, I would like to apologize. I know
No,
I'm not Filipino
you
myself, but
don't
still,
need to apologize, Nav. You
eh,
don't need to apologize at all. Because look, this is the debate I have with many people from the Philippines, and for the first part is you get your criticism from fans, which is normal, right? Fans are entitled to opinions. If you want to see what a real toxic fan environment is, just come to the UK and see British football. I mean, it's horrific. So that is nothing new to me. But no one needs to apologize to me on behalf of whatever country they're from. Listen, we love basketball. This is an international game. You get the same in every country in the world. It's just a case where, which I've said to you before, is if you're in the same industry as me, whether you're a journalist or you're a coach, then we will have those conversations when we see each other. With me, that's a coffee. We'll have a talk. There'll be no more than that, basically. So, but like I said, there's no need to feel guilty. It kind of made me chuckle when I laughed because I was actually having a cup of tea when I read it, and I just felt like, oh, I'm British, so automatically I'm a soccer person. I actually know nothing about soccer.
I've heard some of that before. I've heard someone tell me once, "You're an Indian, stick to cricket," right? And I
Oh,
just
I tell
told
you what,
them,
then, Nav. I tell you,
yeah.
one day we do need to get into the cricket talk because I'm mad about my cricket.
Oh,
I love my cricket.
well, you'll have to teach me more because I have a lot to learn about cricket. Although I did watch a Cricket World Final a few weeks ago in an Indian bar, so you can only imagine how nuts the people were afterwards. But back to that person
England's
that
number
told me,
one. Number
yes,
one.
sure.
England's number one.
So yeah, just going back to the person that told me stick to cricket, I kindly responded to that person saying, "I will take the cricket bat and shove it up your ass." Anyway, back to Gilas here. I want to get to some comments first, though. Yes, the community is present. Hello to Denzil. Hello to Ryan. Ryan wants to ask Josh. Hi, Josh. I just want to ask, what training or specialist does a Filipino sportscaster need to be what you are as a FIBA commentator? Ooh, someone might be interested in pursuing a similar passion that you do, Josh. Maybe some words of advice could come in handy right now.
So I'd say when I started, my first ever involvement with commentary was back in 2014 because obviously it was through my father and he got me a look into do women's EuroLeague and I did 3 or 4 games in the space of 1 week and it was a challenge because I hadn't at that time I wasn't so aware of not only of international basketball, it was more at that time watching NBA and NCAA basketball. So I knew what I did from that experience was I just started throwing myself out and watching as much as possible and learning as much, reading about different leagues, learning players. And from that was 2014. I didn't get another chance until FIBA started the Basketball Champions League. So I was a little bit lucky, but where I really helped myself was for years I would only watch international basketball more so than NBA basketball. So if you want to get into I mean, I don't know if it's PBA. You're probably the person's probably very knowledgeable on PBA, but I would say, if you really want to make that step ahead to jump to international basketball, make a platform of some sort, content journalism where you're focusing on everything international as much as possible. Show that you are a real advocate, a fan of international basketball. Because I feel that a great commentator is someone who thoroughly loves the level they're at. Because I get loads of people in the UK always ask me, I want to get where you're at. And it's like, okay, well, what do you know about the Basketball Champions League? What do you know about the BCL Asia? What do you know about the Age Cup qualifiers? And, if the response is I'm not too sure, it's like, well, if you want to get to this level, start getting into it because you got to know it, you got to love it before you get into it.
Absolutely. Great advice. You have to know the ins and outs, even if that means starting off with Wikipedia. You got to start somewhere. Learn who won the championships, who are the good teams, the contenders, what are some of the notable moves, the players, and that goes for any league. Now, I'm going to get to some of the other questions here. And by the way, to the spectators watching right now, if you want to ask Josh anything, whether that's broadcasting, working in the sports industry, or FIBA or Gilas, send them our way. I will get to that shortly. But I want to keep playing the highlights here. Now, for those who are watching this episode on playback, you'll get to see what we're talking about because I'm playing the highlights of the Brazil Gilas game. Now, we're about to get to the third quarter. This is where Brazil really turned the game around. They were down 12 in the first half, and then they got by double digits. And we see mistakes like that right there, leaving a shooter just wide open all day to shoot. Josh, looking back at how this game really turned around, and we can look at this 10-minute stretch here where everything changed. What was Brazil doing so well? I mean, a closeout like that, you understand maybe why people would criticize Japeth, but some of the instances like that, were they just way too common for the Philippines, or was there something Brazil specifically was doing that altered this result?
Well, the previous two plays, it's a ball screen for Didi Luzada. Used to play for Ceci Frank, and I think he was drafted by the Hawks. And then the second one was with DePaula. Both situations end in a three-pointer. And it's a case, you watch Jumar Fajardo, it's such a drop defense. It's such a no attempt to really even make life difficult for the ball handler because Jumar's so preoccupied on, I don't know if he's got Lucas Diaz or whoever, but there's no continuity. Now, whoever's defending the ball handler, there's no fight to get around it. That's what I'm saying. This is, you got to work together. If Jumar's noticing that either Chris Newsom or Dwight Ramos is making no effort to get around the defense or not go under it, then you've got to quickly come out and switch. This is 1 through 5 switching. This is why sometimes it's quite important to have Brownlee as the 5. But in the third one, Japeth Aguilar, I would criticize. Listen, I love Japeth, but I would criticize it. You made no effort to chase Leonardo Mendel, who's an import player for Alvac Tokyo, competes for a B-League championship, and you're happy to let him grab the ball in the corner and have an open three? I'm sorry, that's not good enough. Now, listen, Japeth Aguilar, in my mind, had some very good games. He offered a lot of good things for this team, but that moment was in the first few minutes of the third quarter when the comeback came in. Experienced player like Japeth, who's had some great Asia Cups, you got to do better. And I mean that with sincerity because I highly rate Japeth Aguilar as a great player.
Great point. And for those who haven't seen it yet, I just want to read out the quote that Coach Tim Cohn put on his Twitter today. Not exactly in defense of Japeth, but I would say some added context with how Japeth got to the team. Coach Tim said, I begged Japeth to join us in Latvia. He wanted to let the young guys do it and spend more time with his wife and new baby. Kept begging him, Coach Tim said. When AJ Edu went down, he finally relented after more begging. A lot of begging, apparently. He led us. He was our team captain. His sacrifice for country was total. Now, Tim's not going to go online and come to the defense of Japeth just in terms of basketball X's and O's, as we did see him make a shot here. Because I believe Coach, I'm sure, saw what a lot of us saw in the film viewing, like what you said, the open three-pointers, which sparked the run of Brazil. But overall, do you understand where Coach Tim is coming from, having been with Japeth for so long now, wanting someone like him to be the team captain? Because in addition to what he can do on the court, or what he used to do a lot more, he does provide a lot in the locker room for the younger guys in the team. Am I right?
Absolutely. And I agree having Japeth on the team because very experienced player. He'll play any role that you need him to be within the team, almost a glue player. Look, if everybody's going to criticize Japeth for that third quarter, I'm sorry, then you need to give the same amount of criticism to Jumar Fajardo. But remember, they are human beings. They just had a couple of poor passage of plays that allow Brazil to get back in the game. The fact that Gilas lost isn't because of Jumar Fajardo or Japeth Aguilar. It's a collective effort. The fact is Gilas couldn't get things going on offense at the end of the day. You could argue a few points that maybe Dwight Ramos had some good looks that he gave up in transition, but it's not one player's fault. It's just, look, put it this way. Gilas played very well. They beat Latvia, which was a phenomenal game. They almost beat Georgia, which would have put them in first place, not second. And who did they end up losing to? They end up losing to Brazil, who won the tournament, but they were up by 12 points at one point of the game. Brazil went and absolutely thrashed Latvia in the final. This is how it goes in international basketball. I would say, if anything, Japeth Aguilar, his addition to this Gilas team is a lot more than what he delivers on both ends of the floor. It's his maturity, his leadership, and also just his ability to be that kind of player that everyone likes to play around. I've spoken to a lot of guys from Gilas. They love playing in Japeth because he's a very, very much a veteran player who's very calm.
Great points there. Let's get to the comments here. I want to say hi to some of our usual spectators. Karina, of course, JM, Ivan, Batax, Denzil, Enzo, Basketball PH, Ron, Franlu. Franlu, why are you so quiet tonight? Make your presence known, man. Ball is life, and I see some new faces, some new spectators, shall I say. Thank you so much. And don't forget to register to the channel, the Navs Effect Daily episodes on playback. JM says, no one can take away the fact that Japeth is a Gilas legend. He doesn't deserve the hate at all. I tend to agree with you, JM. Converge Fiber Xers. I'm not sure if this is the official Converge PBA account, but for tonight, I will pretend it is. It appears they lost their composure when Brazil intensified their physical play in the second half. Additionally, I observed our players' body language reacting negatively when they didn't receive favorable calls. Do you think that's accurate, Josh, that after some of the calls didn't go Gilas' way, they might have, I wouldn't say check out, but gotten a little too discouraged?
No, first of all, I got to give a big shout out to all of our referees. Okay, because our referees, I felt in every tournament did a very good job, and I think it's a natural human instinct when, in the moment, a foul or a decision that's gone against you. Naturally, it's human emotion to think it hasn't gone against you. But do I think that this had any impact or the body language represented? No, because the Gilas players, they played right to the very end. Look, they gave everything. And I think they got exploited in the third quarter due to a few invitations that Gilas gave to Brazil that we probably wouldn't have expected. But the fact is that the better team won. As painful as that is for many Filipino basketball fans, that is the fact of the reality. Now, for me, I may sound like how people are criticizing Chuck Reyes, because when Chuck Reyes says this is a learning experience after every time that it hasn't gone their way, well, I hate to break it to a lot of fans. That's a fact of life. Everything is a learning experience. And in the last decade, since 2013, when Gilas, shocked the entire international basketball world and making it back to a World Cup, there were high expectations. And the fact is, Gilas were never able to meet those expectations. So that's why you always hear it's a learning experience. I'm going to say the same thing for this OQT. It's been a magnificent learning experience.
Learning experience. That feels like it's the word of the generation now, or the phrase of the generation. I don't take losses, I just take lessons. All related to learning experiences, but it's a great way to live. I mean, you don't want to walk around every day thinking I'm a loser anyway, right?
Yeah.
Say I'm a learner. I like that. I like that. Okay. Saul here says, I hope Josh Bett covers Gilas games. Hopefully you do cover the next Gilas games that are going to happen. Josh, he has covered some Gilas games in the past. Interesting comment here from Ballis Life, and I have to agree. Sorry, before I do that, I have to say Coach Tim's bench reactions, probably top five maybe in the whole world when it comes to basketball coaches. It's like when he gets disappointed, he just looks like a dad that who saw his like sons break the backyard for the fifth time and he has to fix it again. It's just so funny. Ballis Life. Just a few months ago that we were nervous with Southeast Asian teams, and now we're bad trip because we lost to Brazil. Trust the process, the good kind of process. Love that comment. Ball is life. Okay, Fran Lu, to sum up the second half of Gilas versus Brazil, Brazil let Gilas play the game, but the Japeth hate is the thing I don't get. Huertas played well at 41 years old in a FIBA game, and we have to talk about Huertas. I had Robert Bollick, PBA superstar, come on playback. That episode is on YouTube and Spotify for those who want to listen. And right away, he came on after the Brazil loss, and he was like, Huertas, bro. Huertas, so fucking good. 41 years old, pick and roll maestro, attacking Junmar Fajardo, knowing exactly when to pull up. He turned that game around in the third period by taking it with his hand and never letting that grip go, right, Josh?
If you're going to talk about Marcelinho, Vino Tinto, I like to call him red wine, we could be here for hours, because listen, I've been covering that man for the last 4 years in the Basketball Champions League, and it's old saying that we have here in Europe that 20, 30 years from now, whether it's he's playing for Tenerife or Brazil, they're going to need to find new players to play around him, because he gets older, but he gets better. And I remember saying, I watched this Philippines Brazil game, and Huerta struggled in the first half. He couldn't quite get his bread and butter, which is from 15 feet off the dribble. And he's so quick. He'll go around one screen. He'll track back, go around the second one. He'll run. He's like Sonic. He runs circles around the screen just to lose you. And then when he finds that bit of inch of space, he elevates so high, you can't block him. But, Gilas did a very good job defensively against Brazil's pick and roll in the first half. But then when Brazil find a way back in, it's like, oh, shit. Now, guess what? You've got 41-year-old Marcelinho, who's now going to cook you from the mid-range. And I'd say that was the nail in the coffin for why Gilas just couldn't get further back, because guess what? Marcelino just sealed the deal for those guys. He's a great player. A very good player.
Great player. Excellent guard at his age. Just so wise and still so quick and crafty. And Bolik, who was here in this episode, said in his last said as part of his comments from the game is you don't have to be the quickest or the fastest when it comes to getting open, blowing by your opponents. You just have to be smart. You have to be crafty, know when and where to attack. And safe to say, Huertas has those qualities. Let's get to some
Oh,
comments
Nev, one,
here.
one
Go for
last
it,
thing.
Josh.
Let's not forget, Huertas was teammates with the late great Kobe Bryant for one season before he retired. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that shows you the level that he played at. So sorry to cut you off.
No, absolutely. That's a good point too. Being in the NBA, it's a different kind of learning experience. Even just being in that environment for 1 year, your basketball knowledge increases exponentially. All right, question here. Was it a huge factor that Brazil are more athletic and physically gifted, hence they have more energy to play defensively? Or is it just that Gilas didn't have a deep rotation, especially a big who can switch on defense like AJ Adu? How big of a factor do you think that is, Josh?
The first fact is irrelevant because you could argue that Gilas probably have the most athletic player in Justin Brownlee. You know, what athleticism are we talking about? Are we talking the ability to jump high? Because you've got two players in. Well, obviously Kai didn't play, but you got Juma is about 6'11". You got Japeth 6'8". I mean, the athleticism I'd say with Gilas was probably very good. Now, of course, everyone's going to look at Iago Santos, the Luzada, and the likes of De Paula. Now I know these players. Some of them I know personally. I know Iago on a personal note. We are friends. But when I started my career as a commentator, they were playing in Liga de las Americas. Iago was playing for Palestano. Didi Luzada was playing for Ceci Franca, as was Lucas Dias. Some were playing for Mogi das Cruz. So they've all grown up to a very tough, very prominent Brazilian basketball system, and then now they've made their way over to Europe. They're either playing BCL, they're playing EuroLeague, or Leonardo Mendel's playing in Japan. So if you want to look at it, their basketball upbringing is very different. They've been together a very long time. They've also gone through very tough elite systems. And I think the Gilas players, some of them have just started that journey where they've either gone through the UAP or they've now in the B League, PBA. There's no denying the fact that the development of the two sides is different. I mean, but I would say the second part to that question, the depth in rotations are obviously key because all you have to look at is the final that we had in Valencia between Bahamas and Spain. Spain has a roster that went 10 to 12 deep. With the Bahamas, it was only 6 or 7. And that's a big, big difference. So athleticism had nothing to do about it. I think this Gilas team was relatively big and very relatively athletic. It's the depth and the experience that really comes into play.
Depth and experience. I like that. Because, what people don't also remember about the Brazil loss was yes, Brazil started the third quarter great, but they also ended the second quarter very strong. The final minutes of that second period where Gilas, if they had just kept the lead, the double digit range, not even that high, maybe like 10, 11, maybe even 9, but instead was lower than that. And Brazil built some momentum, which they then carried over to the third period. That was the key, in my opinion, was connecting. It wasn't just the one period. In basketball, sometimes it's like that. It's who can have the better stretch. Teams are going to have stretches, runs, and which was more impactful will more often than not help a team get victory. Okay, we'll do rapid fire for some of the questions here right now so that we have a lot of time for more questions later on. Okay, question for Josh. Would you ever consider covering PBA games in the future? I know this is something you've been interested in, right?
It would be an honor, no doubt. And like I said, the PBA doesn't need me. Listen, I mean that with total respect because it's probably the oldest professional league in the world, along with the NBA. Listen, I like the PBA as a fan. I do watch it from time to time, depending what conference it's in. It would be a massive honor, but in total respect to the guys that are already covering the PBA, your likes of Magoo, Anthony Suntai, Dean Canito Henson, they don't need me. But like I said, if there was a last minute shout, someone wasn't available, of course. I mean, it would be such an honor to be amongst such a historic and prestigious league that has so much historic value. No, it's a no-brainer.
Okay, another one here. If USA and France are the top two teams in the Olympics, asks Paulo, who would be your third?
Oh, that's tough. Serbia. But then again, I would probably say Serbia would. My mind says USA will win. My heart says that either Serbia, France, or Serbia or France would be the other one to knock them off.
You don't think Canada is in that list yet?
It's a very elite level of international basketball. And I think to put the team together last summer and now to jump here again and to expect to be in the medal round, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, individual talent is there, but this is the highest level of international basketball. This will be tough. So
Absolutely. Josh, what are your thoughts on Puerto Rico beating Lithuania? Should it be considered an upset or not?
No, absolutely not. Nav, you remember this. We saw Puerto Rico in our group last summer in the Araneta.
Yeah.
You got George Condit, who is their one big, and maybe they're one elite center away from being, a top 8 team in the FIBA Basketball Cup. But those backcourt players, Tremont Waters, the Howard brothers as well. I mean, they are a good team. And let's not forget, the thing I found so inspiring about Puerto Rico is you have Carlos Arroyo. I don't know what his actual job is with the federation, or if he actually does, or if he's just there for support, but he goes to all the practices, all the games. We're talking about a guy who was my favorite Puerto Rican player growing up. 2004, the fake pass against Amari Stoudemire when Puerto Rico beat the USA. And, I'm just an idiot commentator who is a fan. And I go up and speak with Carlos Arroyo thinking that, you know what, I wonder how this nicest guy in the world, And what I like about speaking to him, he wants what's best for Puerto Rican basketball. Who can't be inspired by that? Those levels, most of those players, Tremont Waters had his time in the NBA. He was recently in the CBA, but you got a lot of those guys playing the Spanish ACB. That is the highest, one of the highest domestic international basketball leagues in the world. Probably number one, actually, for that matter, domestically. So an upset? No. I put it this way, that Lithuania had their struggles. They had the chance to get back, but guess what? They were beaten by the better team. Simple.
Very good points there. And I know you just said something serious about Carlos Arroyo, and I agree he's probably a good guy, but I just can't help but think of Pitbull whenever I see him. I mean, it doesn't help when Carlos wears those shades sometimes. I'm just
No
waiting for
comment.
him to
No
call
comment.
himself Mr. Worldwide. Okay, how can Gilas sustain the momentum considering the FIBA window for Gilas? The next one won't be until November.
Plenty of time. Guess what? Now, I said this in the last tweet when they lost, that Gilas's development, and you can put this down with Japan as well. You can put this with almost any country, and even Spain. Sergio Scariolo said this after they won the Eurobasket, is the windows are a blessing for every country in the world. Whether you're a strong basketball country like Philippines, or you're a weak basketball country like, dare I say, Great Britain. But the fact is that your national teams now, men and women, get a chance to see each other once, 2 or 3 times during a season, and coaches get a chance to now look at the selection of players, look at the development come through, play more games. And guess what? The next window is November. The one after that is in February. That's plenty of time to prepare for the Asia Cup. This is great for basketball. When you have countries always seeing each other, always getting a chance to be around each other, the development, I mean, if people want to call this an upset for Puerto Rico, then let me tell you something right now. Puerto Rico have taken the windows very seriously. And that will tell you right now, in the next Eurobasket window, Lithuania is going to probably go into this one and say, guess what? We need to improve, because they lost to Estonia in the last Eurobasket window. So the windows are important. They give every national team a chance to meet, plan, and prepare.
Let's shift to the NBA here a little bit. Sal wants to ask or clarify. Are you an Orlando Magic fan, Josh?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I have a Toronto Raptors shirt
Okay.
on now just because my parents lived in Toronto, but I'm a Magic through and through. I'm not so fanatical as when I was a teenager. I lived in the USA for 2 years for college, and that was when they had Dwight Howard. But I found that if you're going to be a diehard Orlando Magic fan like I was, you're going to need to deal with some years where you don't make the playoffs. But, Magic is my team through and through. I love Florida.
So the current build of the team with Banchero and Wagner, of course, World Cup champion Wagner, we should call him, and KCP now added to the mix. I'm not sure if you're keeping Fultz, but you also got Gary Harris back, and you're keeping Cole Anthony. You have a young defensive stud like Jalen Suggs. I was hoping maybe one more big man. Betatse, will he still be starting for the team? Of course, that's a question. But ultimately, this addition of KCP, giving Orlando, a team that struggled from 3-point range last NBA season, the chance to strengthen a weakness. How far does this take you now in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I'd say you have to know, I go back to like the mid to early 90s of being a Magic fan. The fact that we didn't get swept in this round of the playoffs, I think when we took it to 7 games was a monumental achievement. I still think we could have beaten Cleveland in the first round, but
You were up big, right? First half?
This is a young team that's just been built out of the fact that what did we do in the lockdown? We traded everybody. We traded guys to the Bulls. We traded Gordon to the Nuggets because listen, everybody was injured for that matter as well. So we were thinking playoffs are not a reality. Let's rebuild now. So this is the thing about being an NBA fan is that sometimes you find that your team is chronically rebuilding without being disrespectful. So listen, I always watch the Magic play. I'm actually acquainted with some people that are within the Magic organization, and I will always support them, but step by step right now. Let's not set the bar too high. We have a very exciting team at the moment, but I would like to see us maybe improve next season by getting to the next round.
The Celtics vacation of Orlando is real, says Celtics Manila. I am noticing a similar build, but hey, Celtics just won the championship. As much as that brings me so much joy to say. Let's see. I like this question here from Ron says Bo. Okay, did I pronounce that right? Sorry. I think this is RC. Yeah, this is RC. See, RC, that's easier for me to say, but from RC, what are your thoughts about the Bahamas basketball national team, Josh? Does it have the potential to be like Canada in terms of producing NBA talent and winning games or tournaments in FIBA due to its close proximity to the US? Of course, notable NBA players in the Bahamas program right now, Buddy Hield, should say that correctly, with the Golden State Warriors, Clay Thompson, who just left Golden State and then moved to Dallas, and DeAndre Ayton, who Phoenix traded for last season. What's your answer to that, Josh? You think the Bahamas could get up there like Canada did?
Well, it all depends on players who. I mean, look, you looked at this team. You mentioned 3 NBA players they had that they were able to get on their national team. That was great. And they also have a young VJ Edgecombe who, my goodness gracious, seeing this young kid, 18 years old, he is going to go to the NBA. He's on a whole different level. He is 18 years old, scoring 20 points. His maturity, his athleticism, he's a phenomenal player. It all depends now what the federation decides to, because you have to identify. You can find Americans right now that probably will have roots to the Bahamas. It's a question of how are you going to get them to represent the national team? Because when I started with FIBA, my second season was the 2019 World Cup qualifiers, and the Bahamas, they were usually a team that was competing with the Virgin Islands to find out who would pick up a victory in the World Cup qualifiers. Whereas now you got a team that you can compete with at an elite level. They were short for depth in the final against Spain. They had a 6-point lead in the first quarter. But the fact is they lost to a team that went much deeper and was better than it. That's a fact of reality. It will be interesting to see where they go to in the future. Can they get to the level of Canada? I think it's a bit of an unfair benchmark because Canada has 2 pro leagues. They got university system. I'm not sure what the population is of the Bahamas, but for sure you want to see more elite basketball players with that have roots to the Bahamas play for the national team because it's a beautiful story to see a wonderful small island now competing in a big sport at a big level.
Absolutely. This game was incredibly entertaining as well. Well, I do hope that Bahamas continues to not only keep the talent that they have now, but maybe even add to it. Like you said, the potential for it one way or another. The more contenders we have, especially in an age now where FIBA can grow significantly because of how great they are with social media and digital content. And I think that's something that's so underrated about them. They do it very well. The NBA does it very well. I believe our local collegiate and recently the pro has been catching up to here in the Philippines. They've been doing a great job to getting to the digital sphere because it's a great way to reach the fans, the audience, and more importantly, the basketball aficionados of the future. A lot of the basketball viewers now are checking games on their phones, streaming it, checking highlights on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and this is a totally different topic from where I was going to go, Josh. But I do suddenly want to ask you now, considering your passion for basketball and how you like seeing the game grow globally, how big is the development of digital basketball content? How much more of a bigger role do you think it will play in growing the game, let's say 5, 10 years from now?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, look, we have smartphones, don't we? And I think we spend probably, what is it, the stat, 70% of our weeks on our smartphones. And depending what our algorithm gives us is what we look at. So if you go through my algorithm, you'll probably find cooking shows or you'll find NBA or basketball stuff in general, because that's what I'm interested in watching. If you look at my wife's algorithm, you may find, I don't know, what would I find on your algorithm, honey? She's right here right now, actually, but bless her. No, but
Congratulations.
oh, he knows about the baby.
Thank you.
Why don't you come say hello to everybody? Just okay, never mind. She's pretty satisfied. So basically, yeah, no, and you're right. I mean, look, even for me as a commentator, it's great. It's great for me and for other commentators because, and you know, a lot of people who label me as a clickbaiter. Well, you know, you may have a point there, but if it's anything, if someone in Tokyo or Manila or I don't know in Istanbul is not going to be able to see the full game of their country playing, but there's a big moment where there's a buzzer beater in the case of SJ Bellinger, and that's the only thing they're going to see from that game. That's going to have a big impact on their life. They're going to think, wow, where is this game being played? Okay, it's FIBA Asia. I'm going to follow FIBA Asia. And if you can somehow magnify that moment and really personify it with your words, whether it is Salamat Bellinger or in any other language, those fans, they may not speak English. But if they see something amazing, but they hear something in their mother tongue, it's going to create a bond with those fans and the tournament or whatever platform that's being played, of course. So it's all, you're absolutely right, Nav, that digital marketing, digital media, it is the way to go for the future. And God knows where it will be in the future. It's going to be, because sometimes you got to think, is the digital media going to take over us, you know?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yep.
AI gets scarier by the month, and it's because of reasons maybe from movies I watched back in the day. But the digital space, it's coming, whether we like it or not. I was even imagining if they continue to improve fan experience. You know, just think about 20 years ago. Here in the Philippines, I mean, we would have to wait for 1 or 2 games a week playing on one channel to watch the NBA. Most of the time, it would be on replay. And now, gosh, I could pull up a game on my phone. I mean, I use NBA League Pass, everybody, but I know some people know about the Gcash streamers out there on Facebook. But you could quickly pull up a game and check it out. So, 20 years from now, do we get like some kind of VR experience where we put on the goggles? The moment we do, it's like we're actually in the crowd. We feel like the beer splashing, the popcorn being thrown, the energy. I mean, just think of all the possibilities.
Well, I think you might even find a robotic commentator that probably has the Johnny Bravo haircut like me and probably less obnoxious, but probably people will find the robotic version of me a bit more entertaining. Who knows? But you're right. I mean, listen, 20 years from now, my future child will be an adult. So God knows what technology will be around at that point, you know?
Definitely. Now, let's get back to some of the questions here. Lance, a comment rather, would love to see a greater appreciation for behind the scenes footage and how FIBA events are organized. Oh, that's a suggestion. Maybe you could get up there to the content bosses, how the different teams prepare and how post game shenanigans happen. Lance, maybe you want to know about the post FIBA parties. That's something I would be interested to find out about. Okoko wants to know, do you think, going back to the basketball, Kai Sotto would get an NBA contract based on his performance in the OQT? If I could just give my take, I would say I think there was a chance, but the injury might have slowed it down a little bit.
Yes and no. I mean, very tough to see from an OQT, especially because and again, it's nothing against the OQT. I still don't know how coaches assess players, because when I keep hearing that the Australian NBL is now becoming the gateway to the NBA, it's like, well, why is that? Nothing against the NBL, because I watch it and it's a very good level of basketball, but I've always felt that the highest level of international basketball has always been in Europe. You've got Basketball Champions League, you've got EuroLeague, and that's a very it's a tough one, because I think maybe the NBL, as good a level as it is, also works in a way that enables prospects to thrive so that they can be a target. Whereas I feel in Europe, it's such an elite level that they're not so bothered whether players end up going to the NBA, because everybody wants to win. Everybody wants supremacy of European basketball. So going back to the OQT, could you get an NBA contract from the OQT? Maybe, but you'd have to be putting up extraordinary numbers. And I think Kai's numbers were good, but maybe not good enough to justify. I mean, a tryout 10-day contract, possibly. A guarantee would be different.
I guess we shall find out more, but first we do have to let Kai recover because a rib injury, thankfully no fracture, but sometimes those can linger. And at this point, with his size especially, he's 22. I think he'll be fine in the long term, but of course, rest and recovery should be prioritized. Okay, Basket BPH, interesting comment here. Kai was mishandled back in his teen years. He's supposed to play in those European leagues, but someone pushed his NBA dreams. I wonder who that someone is. Okay, RC, what are your thoughts, Josh, about British basketball? Why is it not that competitive in European basketball, despite being able to produce NBA talents such as Luol Deng, Ben Gordon, and Robert Archibald? Just to ask to what's the latest with Kyle, the standout Phil British baller in the UK right now, Josh? Maybe you can answer RC's question, then let us know about Kyle.
RC, I think that the British basketball is actually it is competitive. If you look at our junior national teams, we have at times won European championships. The thing is, we don't have the same professional leagues that you would see in other countries. Our league is desperately needed money for so many years. I can't talk about the current situation that's happening now because you can obviously read about it yourself. But there's a situation that we're all waiting to emerge. To correct you as well, we didn't actually produce Luol Deng. We were fortunate to have Luol Deng because, he was a refugee due to the civil war that happened in Sudan. He went to Egypt and then came to London. And, we were very lucky to have him. And also even we were very, very fortunate to have him represent our national team. But his development doesn't come down to British basketball. Neither does Ben Gordon. He was born in London and he moved to the United States at a young age. Rest in peace to the late, great Robert Archibald. May God forever, as he looks down on us, he was a very good player. He was from Scotland, and I believe he was the son of a former player as well, who my dad used to play against. When you look at British basketball, we're a big nation, and we're 4 countries within that. We have England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and I think England probably, and it's fair to say this, that we have good basketball players. We have strong players because we have we're very fortunate to have a beautiful ethnic diversity in this country. I mean, if you come to the UK, you have all walks of life, and it's great. And when you look at our national teams, it's very, very diverse as well. The issue that we're having now is our best players for so many years they've had to go abroad. They've had to go to the USA or go to Spanish academies, French academies, Italian academies because we've never had a sophisticated pro league where guys can make money. My father played in this pro league for a decade. He coached in it. He's the most successful British coach in professional basketball here in the UK, but he had to quit because he wasn't earning enough money to support 3 children. So that is the state on British basketball. We have the players. We just right now we need more money for infrastructure. Because now we look at Cooper Flagg, who I had the fortune of seeing 2 summers ago at the Under-17 World Cup. Hell of a player, I might say.
Thanks for your thoughts on British basketball, Josh. I do agree that it's something that could be exciting. I did want to ask about Kyle too. Any update on him?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to Nino in a while because I was supposed to. I believe that it must have been either last week or a week before. I did receive a message from someone from Campy that they were taking a group of Phil Brits to the Philippines, but I wasn't aware. I thought I saw something on Facebook that he'd gone to some British university, but I haven't. I do need to catch up with the family. I've listen. Last month I've been Dubai, Spain. I'm back home now, so I need to. There's a lot of things I need to catch up on, but I would definitely catch up on the Capanzana family to find out what's going on.
How talented is he? If he ever decided to play college ball in the Philippines, how good do you think he could be?
It's a tough one because when I first met Kyle, he was like 14, and I was taken away by how physically developed he was, how intelligent he was. I felt the one part of his game is that he needed to improve was his perimeter shooting. It was too much of a set shot, but having seen him play for the Great Britain under-16s, I felt this kid could be something special. And when I met him, I immediately sent a message to Coach Tab Baldwin and spoke to many of the people at Antonet and said, listen, there's a very special talent here. We need to get him a passport very quickly because he could be something big. And the family got on that right away. They got the passport immediately. I would say that he needs to go to the Philippines sooner rather than later, because to go from the UK to jump right into the UAP, that's a very tough jump, because that's a very high level to go from, right? The intensity, the obviously you're in a different. You got to remember he's Filipino, but he's grown up in the UK. So to jump from growing up in the UK to the Philippines and playing a high level of basketball was tough. I was saying to the father, you want to get him out there now, like send him to the high schools, because the quicker he's in it, the more he's able to learn before jumping in. Because I knew who was the case, the British guy that went and played at LaSalle. He was friends with Kiefer Ravenna growing up.
Terrence Moostray.
Yeah, so Terrence is a lot younger than me, but I remember Terrence playing at a very elite level here before going and playing in the UAP. Terrence, as great as he was, he had his struggles, and I strongly felt that was down to the fact that he left it a little too late to go. Whereas I felt that if you go early, you play your high school basketball, then you go into the UAP, then you're ready for it. I mean, if you think you're going to jump from high school, college basketball here in the UK, which is a relatively good level, to I'm going to go up and play the same role in the UAP, you got no chance. I'm sorry. Like, you're talking about playing in one of the most traditional, physical, quick tempo university leagues you'll find worldwide.
Great thoughts. Now let's get to another question. What did you think of Cooper Flagg's performance, and how good do you think is he going to be? Is he going to be the number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft?
Well, when we were in Malaga in 2022, I was commentating the under 17 FIBA World Cup. He played relatively well in the final. What I was more impressed with him was his defensive presence. I mean, blocks every shot. Shooting mechanics are a little bit off. He needs to improve those, but puts the ball on the floor and he's got long arms and he's one hell of an athlete. And I'm looking at this kid thinking he's 17 years old. He's probably on his way to high school. And somebody was really singing his name. I was like, okay, well, he's good. And then someone told me he was 15 years old at the time. I was like, what the like, are you kidding me? So to see where he is now, like, yeah, he will be for sure a solid top 10 pick.
Probably number one overall. I mean, everyone's already got their jokes like wave the flag for Cooper Flag, white
Well,
flag for Flag. I mean, go, yeah.
he's from the state of Maine. And what's funny, I remember speaking to his parents in Malaga. They knew my college coach. So it's a very small state. So, and what's funny is I speak to some of my old teammates. And of course, Maine is a very tiny state, right? I mean, Nick Cannon-Medley comes from Maine. I think that might be the big NBA name that came from Maine. So when I'm telling all my friends after that event, like, oh, there's this kid called Cooper Flag, they're all jumping up and down, like, oh yeah, he's everywhere, like everyone loves him, like he will be a big deal, that's for sure. If he can improve that shot, he'll be like Larry Bird 2.0.
Oh, I like that.
But he needs to improve
Interesting.
that shot, though. Like, he needs to shoot.
I mean, of course, because Bird was a great shooter. All right, 3 minutes left, and it's been a great hour. It's gone by in a flash. Thanks, Josh. I think that this might have been the longest episode we've done yet. So I think it's only fitting that we end by maybe sharing a few words, particularly from you, about what's in store imminently for Gilas. What should they look at? What tournaments do they target to get better? And after the recent growth, Coach Tim called it the growth experience after the loss to Brazil. Got some jokes compared to learning experience from Coach Chot, but Coach Tim had its own spin to it. Anyway, I digress. After the way they performed in Latvia, beating Latvia, losing but not also losing to Georgia, and then leading Brazil by 12 before what happened in the third quarter happened. What's the next tangible goal for Gilas to put in their list?
Asia Cup. Asia Cup. It's as simple as that. You've got November, February to plan. They probably will qualify in November if they win both their games. I mean that respectfully to the other teams. They'll have another window in February. And then obviously that's the easy part, to qualify and to get a team rate. The next part is, you have to. I mean, this is respect to both FIBA and the PBA, because the I don't know what conference it will be next summer, but at some point it may be clashing with the Asia Cup. So the Gilas program and the PBA need to identify very quickly, look, we have a chance to win this FIBA Asia Cup. And let's not forget, the FIBA Asia Cup, along with the BCL Asia, are now the two most, prominent and significant Asian basketball competitions. And it should be the goal of a PBA team to bring the BCL Asia Cup home. It should now be the goal of Gilas to say, we are going to go and bring the FIBA Asia Cup home. Now, plan for that. The goal for me, the expectations, top four. Top four. Get to the semifinals, and guess what? Expectations done for now. Then you set the bar a little bit higher. But top four for me. I've just seen some fan write, would want to see those Josh Bett highlight reels.
I was about to ask, you have a highlight reel?
Yes, I do. So, okay, brace yourself. I am going to humiliate myself tomorrow morning. So when you wake up in the Philippines, no, you know what, Nav? Yeah, all right, I'll do it tomorrow because this podcast will probably come out 2 days later, okay? Tomorrow morning, when I wake up, it will be midday or mid-afternoon. I'm going to put me in my high school years at the American School of England. You can laugh as much you want. You can tease. I don't mind. My feelings will not get hurt. I am going to embarrass myself.
Oh, you mean you're going to post your highlights?
Yep, I will.
Where? On Instagram, on Twitter?
I'll put them on both. I'll put them on X and Instagram, and you can all be there for the laugh. Okay, so
Josh.
I was very skinny. I was very thin, right?
I just might screen share those highlights when I have my episode tomorrow. That could be like my
fine.
Advertisement.
I will download them and we can laugh. Let's just say that I had a phenomenal left-handed layup. I tell you what, there was nobody better in the game than me than doing a bounce pass. I tell you what, I used to do very well, and I don't think I got enough credit for it. I was the GOAT, the greatest of all time, at giving high fives in the two-line layups, And honestly, we're all going to laugh our heads off, and we're going to have a good time tomorrow, I tell you.
About to see Josh serving up facial, says Lance. They call him the bouncing Josh, says Basket PH.
I knew how to create air cons. All I had to do was airball, and the arena got cold.
Fran Lu says, hopefully top four for Gilas, but my heart says a spot in the final depending on what group they will be in and what bracket in the KO stage they will be positioned. Personally, I think Gilas should take home the Asian crowns. They should be competing, and nothing short of a championship should be the standard because they have proven how good they can be with the right leadership. Batax, you are going to be waiting on X until Josh posts that video. He said he wakes up at 6 a.m., which is 1 p.m. Manila time. I've gotten used to some of the London, UK, Philippine timing because of the planning for the podcast episode. So 1 p.m., set your alarms, hide your wives, hide your kids. Josh Bett's basketball highlights on display. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me, Josh. I appreciate you. Till the next episode, man.
See you later, brother. We'll speak soon, okay? Thanks for having me as well, bro.